In the last video we have discussed about the screening process. Now to know more about the tools or tips, as we can say, to get screened in. Tips to get screened in. As we know, most of us struggle to get screened in because it is known as the hardest thing in the SSB, because 10 to 20% only can make it out of 100. If we take an example that 100 people are going for SSB, so only 10 to 20% can make to the screening. To know more about how we can get screened in for sure, how can we get screen in? So as we discussed about the first test is OIR test, and it is the most important test. As you know, that most important, by the most important means that you can prepare for it, you can prepare well before. Most of the questions are repeated in the nature, repeated questions. And if you practice, you can easily solve all these questions. Like most of the questions are simple, like analogy or sometimes blood relations. In few sets there are dice questions. So basically topics are very simple. If you have any reasoning books, any reasoning means if you have Arihant or any SSC reasoning book, you can easily prepare for these OIR test. Okay, so basically there are two papers. First, paper 1 and 2, and verbal and non-verbal. And suppose if there are 50 questions in each, and there's no negative marking in these papers. For your knowledge, no negative marking, so you can attempt all the questions, 50 out of 50. At least you should try for 50 out of 50. Should do all 50 question in each paper. This is the first and foremost important thing to get screened in, because see, even if the test is not important, your confidence matters a lot for the next test. If you have attempted good amount of questions, 50 out of 50, your confidence level will boost up. Confidence boost up for the next test, which is PP and TT. So what I mean to say is that you should attempt all the questions in the OIR test in both the papers, first and second, and for the confidence, at least for the confidence boost up, marks is the one aspect, but the second aspect is your confidence for the next test, which is PP and TT test. Now PPTT, as we have discussed in the previous video, that it's a picture perception and discussion test in which you are shown a picture for 30 seconds, and then you have to write a story on that. Before writing a story, you have to write an action for 1 minute, and then you will be given 4 minutes. So total you have 30 seconds to observe the picture, plus 1 minute to write action plus 4 minutes to write the story. So a total of 5 minutes 30 seconds. And what I feel is 5 minutes 30 seconds is ample amount of time to write a good story. 5 minutes 30 seconds is ample amount of time to write 8 to 10 line story. Now these 5 minutes 30 seconds, how you are going to divide while writing this story? 5 minutes 30 seconds in which, while observing the picture for 30 seconds, you should focus more on observation only. Only observation of the picture. Do not think what you are going to write as story. While you are observing the picture, only observe the picture. Do not write or think anything about this story. Now in the observation part, you should focus more on 3 things: background of the picture, foreground of the picture, and characters. Okay, so what does it mean by background? Background means anything like it can be a rural background, or it can be an urban background, or it can be a village, or it can be a jungle. Anything like if you are thinking about the trees, if you are thinking about the huts, it is obviously understood that it's a village background. Whereas if you are seeing the offices, roads, and factories, etc., then you can be very much clear of that it's a urban type of scene. So background means anything which gives you a broad idea about the theme. Then foreground can consist of it can be an office scene in which people are discussing. There are other pictures, or there are other sceneries which are hanging in the back in the picture. So like if you have this picture, there are trees in the background, huts are there, so it's a village background. And then you can see there are people, and there are children playing in the between. So this you can clearly as foreground, and this you can make a background. Now these people are the characters. The people present in the picture are character. So while observing the picture, you can clearly divide it into 3 parts: background, foreground, and character. Background means village or urban, foreground means the environment, and the character means the people includes male, female, children, or sometimes neutral if you cannot identify the gender of the characters. Now while you observe for 30 seconds, you only observe what is present in the picture. As soon the picture goes off from the screen, you will be given 1 minute to write the action. Now to play fairly in this thing, you should focus more on thinking before writing. Think before writing, because if you write anything and if it goes wrong, suppose you written something in the action part. Now later you want to change the theme, you cannot change the theme, or you have to cut the lines. So think before writing. Anything you are writing, पहले सोच लो उस चीज़ को, what you are going to write. So in this 1 minute of what you have observed the picture, think about that, and then think about a theme. And most of the time the first idea which comes into your mind is a very silly idea means in which you cannot write good actions. Means the first idea is always of lack of actions, and there are things which cannot be figured out. So go for second or third idea. In the second and third idea, then you should make a outline that what your actions will be in this theme. And mind it that this process should not take 30 seconds to 1 minute. Within 1 minute only you should think all of this, that what is present in the picture thing you were writing. Action, first idea, silly idea, second. So this all action should be done in 1 minute only. So how much time you are left with? 4 minutes. Now within 4 minutes you have to write the action and the story. In the action part you should write a single line action. Only subject, main verb, object, single sentence. In the story, now you suppose the action you take around 30 seconds only to write one sentence of action. In this story you are left with 3 minutes 30 seconds. Now before writing this story you should make the outline of this story, that suppose the introduction of the story. Introduction plus action plus outcome or conclusion. So introduction should not be more than of 1 to 2 line, only 1 to 2 line, and 5 to 6 lines should be action and 1 to 2 line as outcome. So this is a broad idea how to write a story. You should take at least 3 minutes 30 seconds to write 7 to 8 lines, in which you should write 1 to 2 line as introduction of the story. Action should be 5 to 6 lines, and 1 to 2 lines of the outcome or conclusion. So after writing a good story, as soon time finishes, after writing the story and 4 minutes are over and your story is submitted now, and you will be going out from the room. Okay, then your groups will be divided for the discussion or narration and discussion. Now in this time, while they are dividing the groups and you are waiting outside the discussion hall, you should revise your story. Revise the story and mind it that do not change your story. Suppose sometimes you think that you have made a wrong story, so do not change. Now while revise this story before entering the narration or discussion room. Revise story at least 3 to 4 times. Now when you enter into the narration and discussion room, narration plus discussion room, you should focus on your confidence. Confidently walk inside the room in the queue and then sit down on the chair earmarked for you. Now as soon your turn comes for narration, you firmly come into the position and look into the eyes of the group and narrate the story. While the narration is going on, do not look into the eyes of the assessor. Do not look into the eyes of assessor. Now, do not look into the eyes of assessor. You should look into the eyes of the group only. Into the eyes of group only. Narration should be loud and clear. And should not be monotonous. What does it mean by monotonous? Means as your story goes up, like the emotions of the character goes up and down, your facial expression plus your voice should also fluctuate accordingly. Okay, so this is narration part. Now as your discussion goes over, the next part comes as discussion. Now most of the repeaters of SSB face the problems in the repeaters face a lot of problems in the discussion, because most of the candidates are repeaters, so they do not get much amount of chance, because everyone want to speak. Since they are repeater, they think that I have made once, so I can easily make it again. So everybody want to make a speech or a discussion, so they do not give chance to others. In the fresher group, there are ample amount of chance that is given to the number of candidate, because freshers do not speak up much. Okay, so now in the discussion, what is more important is to make a valid point. It's not important to speak again and again. It should be that you are going to make a valid point. Now by making a valid point means that your discussion should go in a positive direction. Discussion need to go in positive direction. By means of positive direction, that suppose the group has decided the number of characters. Now you should focus more on theme. Now as you decide the theme, you should discuss more on action. As the action is decided, the final story should come up. So the direction should be positive, and the effort should be to make a common group story, not to fight on a particular thing like theme or action or story. If once the group had decided the theme, you should move on the action part. Once the action is decided, you should move on the final story part. Okay, so likewise the action should be done. Then the person will be nominated from the group, and finally you come out from the room, and the results will be in the favor of you. If you follow this approach, if you follow this approach, I'm sure that you are going to make it to the screen. You are going to make it. Okay, so have best of luck, all the best for your screening, and more videos on the other tests are coming in the upcoming days. Thank you so much.